Selling lies and buying time, killing people next in line. Lower classes, social slime, they don't matter. Genocide, sick from water, sick from air. Making money, they don't care. Caesar shit, force of air. Fuck them back, it's only for they bomb. They shoot, they kill, they massacre, rape. They burn the kids, no one makes countries. Lie to your face, fight and die, 'cause God forgives. Selling lies and buying time, killing people next in line. Lower classes, social slide, they don't matter. Genocide, sick from water, sick from air. Making money, they don't care. See the shit, force of air. Fuck them back, that's only fair. They bomb, they shoot, they kill, they massacre, rape. They burn the kids, no one makes countries. Lie to your face, fight and die, 'cause God forgives. Yeah. Coming back around again. Yeah.
Welcome to the show. This is Game On right here on UCY.tv. It is, let's see, March the 6th, 2016. And we got 2 hours to talk and 2 hours for you to call in. And we'll get to that in a bit. Went for a ride today with we got a coffee and went for a tour, me and my brother-in-law today. And freaking cold this morning, like minus 10 or 12, and which is unusually cold for this time of year. And of course, they will say it's expressly because of climate change that that's why it's so cold today. And I guess they would know, huh? They're the experts. But it was really nice because it was cold enough today that the sun was really shining. So when we were out touring around, got out in the countryside there a bit, the frost was quite pronounced on the trees, and then and the fence lines and all that kind of stuff. And with the sun shining, it was a glorious, glorious morning. Except it was cold. So where are we going to start this today? There's where we're going to go here. Let's see. Oh, well, we're all into this assisted suicide now, so let's start there today. We have Archbishop's assisted dying statement being read to 200 Toronto churches. The Archbishop of Toronto, Cardinal Thomas Collins, invites believers to join a coalition of doctors with a mission to respect the sanctity of human life. A cardinal's statement on assisted dying is being read or shown by video today to more than 200 Catholic churches across the Archdiocese of Toronto. In a statement, the Archbishop of Toronto, Collins, calls on the federal government to protect the vulnerable and those who care for them. Collins says he's shocked by a parliamentary committee's recommendations that would force doctors at least refer people to a physician willing to help someone end their life. He also questions giving access to assisted suicide to minors or those with psychiatric conditions, and allowing people suffering from conditions like dementia to pre-schedule the date of their death. The Archbishop is inviting those who share his concerns to visit Canadians for Conscious .ca and join the Coalition for Healthcare and Conscience. Collins says the coalition includes more than 5,000 Canadian doctors with a common mission to respect the sanctity of human life. Physicians across our country who have devoted their lives to healing patients will soon be asked to do the exact opposite. Collins said they will not be asked to ease their suffering by providing them with treatment, loving care, but by putting them to death. Collins is to personally deliver his statement to St. Paul's Basilica this morning. Laws surrounding assisted dying are currently in a state of limbo, as the federal government has until June to draft new legislation. As it stands, Canadians who want an assisted suicide death need permission from a superior court. Well, that sounds really nice, you know, if you're a Catholic and you're all about the sanctity of life. It sounds pretty good. The problem is this guy's full of crap. And I'll tell you why. First of all, we have a pope who the whole idea since the Second Vatican was to bring all religions into one, okay, which is ass backwards, and so that they can have their one world religion. So either this guy is completely out of the loop, this archbishop is completely out of the loop of what's going on, is completely out of the loop that through UNESCO way back in '62, all of at least the Protestant, no, I think all the churches were induced into promoting sustainable development and the coalition to join all the religions into one. So either this guy's been sleeping, but if you look, I'm going to put this in the chat because if you look at this guy's eyes, he looks shifty, you know, he looks bloody shifty. And what the problem is that we were never given any frickin' knowledge when we went to school. We went to school and we were taught to do as we're told. Whatever authority says, you do it. Okay, and this archbishop looks totally shifty-eyed, and the Catholic Church is pretty shifty. But the Archbishop inviting those who share his concerns to visit CanadiansForConscience.ca. Well, he should know that Canadians are nothing more than subjects of the corporation. He should know that Canadians have had their birthrights stolen. Their names were plagiarized and monetized and became slaves of the corporation known as Canada. He ought to know that. And as Archbishop, he ought to be against slavery, of which each of you are slaves of the corporation. The authority of the corporation rules your life, okay? Plain and simple. This guy's supposed to be a God of man, or a man of God, and he doesn't understand any of this stuff. You know, he doesn't get it. Well, he gets it all right, because he can't not get it. So the other problem here is Collins says the coalition includes more than 5,000 Canadian doctors. These are doctors who are subject to the corporation, the rules, regulations of the corporation. When they become part of the medical profession, they agree to do the bidding of the corporation. So they may be protesting in that, but they are bound by the rules and the regulations the corporation puts forward in their so-called legislatures, which is really the bylaws of the corporation. All these statutes, rules, regulations are nothing more than bylaws of the freaking corporation, of which we are entrapped in, okay, and have been monetized and therefore subjects of the corporation. Not subjects of the creator, not subjects of the crown. Well, the crown is the head of the Canadian corporation, I suppose, but we are held in servitude to the corporation, okay? And he ought to know that. With a common mission to respect the sanctity of human life. But we're not talking about humans here. We're talking about men and women and children, okay, which are not humans. And he ought to know that. Okay, two words that do not appear in the King James Bible, which is the Bible that the woman Elizabeth took an oath upon to uphold the rules and regulations, i.e. the law written within those pages. And by taking that oath, she also agreed with what's written in the Bible. And that is, do not add to or take away from my word, which is the law. And the only way that Elizabeth could ever have ascended up into the queen, become the queen/crown, was to take that oath. Once that oath has been broken, there is no authority in the woman to act as the queen, period. And once that is broken, we are living in tyranny. And the Archbishop ought to know that. What is a human life? What is a human being? A human being, according to science, according to Wikipedia, according to the United Nations, is something that has evolved from a strain of the great ape, which is an animal. Okay, that's why you don't find the word human in the King James Bible. Okay, he created man and he created animals and he created trees and the waters and all that, but he didn't ever create no humans. Man created humans in order to deceive and enslave them. And the Archbishop ought to know that. And Canada is a corporation, so they deal in the legal system, which is corporate. And of course, Elizabeth became moved to the apex of the political and legal systems once she took the oath, which instantly broke the oath. But what it is, it's a two-sided coin here. On the one side, Elizabeth took the oath to uphold the law in the King James Bible. Once she took the oath and became the queen, she ascended also up to the apex of the political and legal systems, which is the corporate system. But she has a duty. We were supposed to be subjects of the one who took the oath, Elizabeth. And the job of Elizabeth, who took the oath, is to protect man, not to ensnare them in this friggin' legal system, because you won't find the word legal in the King James Bible either. You will only find the two words that go with this are legal, or law and man. From the corporate side, you have legal and human. And the deal is that if you be deceived, you will be as, right? Not only exactly what words are, but as basically cattle, chattel, slaves. And that's what they've turned you into, because when you were born, they seduced your mother, and possibly your father, but most definitely your mother, into signing some documents, registering the child, okay? And they plagiarized that name, monetized that name, and enslaved that child. They took ownership of that name and the child. And so the Archbishop ought to know that. The Archbishop should be calling for absolute massive revolution so that we go back to law and man. But he's not doing that, okay? He's the sanctity of human life. Well, I don't know about the cardinal there, but I know for a fact that I did not descend from some damn great ape. And the Catholic Church does not bring this forward that I'm aware of. I'm not a Catholic, nor am I a Protestant. But I do believe in a creator. I do not believe in the religious systems. The religious systems parallel the political systems and the legal systems and the medical systems and the scientific systems and the education system, which are all designed to deceive man. And that's just the way it is. So this is just a load of bunk being put out to weigh pretend that there's basically a fight going on here. Again, it is to divide and eventually conquer. and that's what they're doing. So it's just more of the Hegelian dialect, I suppose. Problem, reaction, solution. They have a problem. They want to kill people. The solution is to kill people. And there's all this stuff that goes on in between the two poles is the reaction. And so they stew up the reaction. They keep it in the media. And they get these conversations and opinions and arguments and all this nonsense going on, trying to get to a solution, which they've already predetermined. So either the Archbishop Collins is a complete idiot, or he knows exactly what the game is. And I would venture to guess that he knows exactly what the game is. So don't go through this thing with this assisted suicide thinking the Catholic Church or this Archbishop has anything legitimate to say on this subject. And that's what I want to say about the Archbishop and his sanctity of life nonsense that he is puking out here. The Vatican has never cared about the sanctity of life. They care about power, and they will stomp anybody and destroy anybody who disagrees with them. And if we go to the Crown, it derives right back to the Vatican. Okay, you got your Triple Crown. You got the lawyers. Okay, and you've got that city, London City, and you've got your military over at D.C., and you got your spiritual leaders over at the Vatican. And that is the true axis of evil. And so believe any of those, and you are a fool. You believe the lawyers, you're a fool. They are the great deceivers. If you believe the military, then you are a fool. The military says to you that there's this problem in this country, so we got to blow the hell out of it, and you agree with that, then you've been deceived. And as far as I'm concerned, the Catholic Church has been a massive deception since the get-go. And if they want to call me up, I mean, I did get a notice on my blog some time back that the Vatican is now following my blog updates. So to this shifty-eyed, smiley little cardinal, get your act together and start getting on the truth wagon. Now, this is interesting because now we have more. Toronto Hospital admits error to after being confronted by parents of dead infant. On the path from shock to grief, Rebecca Bunnell visited her obstetrician for a routine appointment about a month after her newborn son's death on December 24th. She and her husband, Patrick, believe Karine, their 8-day-old infant, had died of an E. coli infection that could not have been prevented. How could staff at Mackenzie's Health at Richmond miss the E. coli diagnosis, she asked her doctor. They knew he had E. coli. Rebecca remembers her doctor telling her. No, they didn't. Rebecca said, not until the end when it was too late. No, they knew 5 days before his death. The blood test result is right here. She gave Rebecca a copy of the chart. It was like somebody shot me in the chest, Rebecca recalled. I couldn't believe it. It was so painful finding out he could have lived. The next day, Rebecca drove to the hospital to get the medical records, then parked her car in the lot of a nearby mall and anxiously opened the envelope. I sat there in the car for 2 hours, in shock. In a $900,000 civil suit filed in court, the couples alleged that they independently discovered the reason their child had died. A blood test result was apparently never seen by doctors at the time the child was struggling for life. After confronting the hospital, the couple were told Mackenzie health officials had also identified the problem in an internal audit a few weeks prior and were about to call the couple according to statement of claim. The hospital issued a rare written apology to the couple, acknowledging the mistake. Allegations in the couple's statement of claim have not been proven in court, and no statement of defense has yet been filed by the Mackenzie Health. Hospital officials declined, of course, an interview citing the case before the courts. But in a written statement, a hospital spokeswoman, Melinda Cormier, said Mackenzie Health is committed to continuous, open, honest, and transparent communication with parents, patients, and their families relating to all incidents. When an incident occurs, the hospital analyzes the incident, and a plan is developed with systematic steps to avoid or reduce the risk of further incidents. This plan is also shared with the patient and or family. The hospital's response was too little too late, Rebecca said. If they just showed us that they were making policy changes and make a sincere statement that we messed up and we're fixing it, it could have made a big difference, Rebecca said. If a hospital is open with a family and welcomes them in and helps get answers, people are way less likely to sue. We know mistakes happen. You're not dumb. Or we're not dumb, and we're willing to forgive. But if they offered openness, it would have meant so much to us in our grieving. The Bunnell story is surprisingly common in Canada. Adverse events and the parlance of physicians and hospital administrators affects tens of thousands of Canadian families every year. A seminal study in 2004 concluded that 7.5% of all Canadian hospital admissions and in adverse events. 185,000 cases a year, of which nearly 70,000 are potentially preventable. In many cases, patients and families never know an error was a factor, in part because of a professional code of silence. The question for the public is when and if the Mackenzie Hospital or Health would have it approach the Bunnells with this laboratory result and offered a proactive apology rather than a reactive apology, said the couple's lawyer, Mark Johnson. Their hand was forced to make this apology by virtue of lab results pointed out to them by the Bunnells. They had no other alternative. Let's see what else we got in here. This goes on. Well, let's just go through this real quick. It's really early. The child was born December 7th, 2014, welcomed to the world by instantly love-struck parents. Rebecca and Patrick took the child home to a room that had been carefully prepared. He wouldn't be there long. During those first days, the child lost weight and began to act strangely, panting, clutching, and clenching his jaw. The couple returned to the health center where the child was diagnosed with jaundice. Doctors ordered several blood tests. One determined that the source of his breathlessness was and seizure-like behavior was E. coli. That information could have saved his life if doctors had acted on it, the couple say. That test result conveyed over the phone by laboratory technologists at Sunnybrook lab to a nurse at Mackenzie Health at 2:50 p.m. on December the 10th, was never seen by a physician. If someone did read it, there is no record of this or any indication that anyone acted upon the information, the statement claim reads. Next day, at 12:27 p.m., a confirmation result was formally reported in an outpatient summary report, according to the child's health records and the couple's statement of claim. Still, doctors at the hospital puzzled over the baby's illness without treating the infection that would kill him. On December 13, as the child grew increasingly ill, he was transferred to London Health Sciences Centre. New tests were conducted there, confirmed E. coli infection caused and meningitis and effectively destroyed all useful brain function, the statement claim reads. I thought, oh my God, he got E. coli from the formula, Rebecca recalled. Then, no, when he was born, he got it from my body, he got it from me. We knew there would be brain damage, Patrick said. We hoped he would be well enough to stay with us. Then they put out the facts that there was no chance that he could be happy or laugh or play. That was there was a heartbeat. He could feel pain, but nothing else. Rebecca's asked the doctor if the newborn son was in a vegetative state. Yes, came the answer. We knew we couldn't make him suffer like that, she said. Palliative care was all that was left to be offered. Crushed, the couple agreed to withdraw their life support. So that is basically, if you will, assisted suicide. Okay. So instead of going through all of this stuff and lawsuits and that, what they want you to do is they want to pass legislation so that you or the parent of a child or whatever will basically sign the paperwork, the legal paperwork, the corporate paperwork, not the, well, law really doesn't have paper attached to it. Law is oratory. So, you know, it's just another form. What happened here was this kid was not given the opportunity to live, was made sick, and eventually the parents were the ones who signed off on life support. So it was actually the parents who suicided their child. And I'm kind of astounded by the numbers here that 870,000 cases or something, with 70,000 of them potentially preventable. That would be, if these are all deaths, that would be, let's see. And I have firsthand knowledge of this. My father-in-law, he's not with us anymore. He was a great guy. But he was getting Alzheimer's or whatever. He was pushing 90. It was late 80s at the time, I guess, getting close to 90. Farmer, worked hard all his life, loved his family. So he was up at the hospital and was very ill. And I told him that, I told the staff, I mean, he's obviously got C. diff, right? And they denied it. Meanwhile, he's in a room with 3 other older gentlemen using the same washroom, okay? And C. diff is highly contagious in the bathroom. And so then they sent him home. And he was just having a real bad time. And we took him up to the hospital a couple, 3 times, and they didn't want to admit him. And they'd done a test, right? And we were told that basically he didn't have C. diff at one point anyway. They kept sending him home. He kept getting weaker and sicker and total diarrhea all the time. And it was more than obvious what was bothering him. And I remember one time I called my brother-in-law to come and get him and take him up to the hospital and just leave him there. They got to deal with him. Well, they sent him back home again. And then I phoned up my brother-in-law and I said, let's go. And this was about, I don't know what time it was. It was getting dark. And I said, let's go. And he goes, where are we going? I said, we're just going to start hitting hospitals, okay, until we find somebody that will deal with this. And this is like an almost 90-year-old man. This is how he's being treated. And that's our local hospital. But the administrations of the hospital has all been privatized. A lot of people don't understand that. There's very little left in this province or any other province or any state that has not already been privatized and behind closed doors and that. They've sold it off as public-private partnerships and this and that and the other thing. But if you look at the public-private partnerships, most of these things have a clause in them that, in after a certain period of time, i.e. when the public ain't watching, they have the opportunity to take it from public-private to completely private. Now here, while we're on the hook for the cost of the hospital and the staff, those who run the hospital and the staff, the administrative board or whatever is actually a separate entity altogether and is a private entity. So it's basically they're looking for cash. And it seems to me they have a bounty on people now. It's worth cash. It's no different than the CAS, the Children's Aid Society. It's a bounty program, bounty on children. Because they get so much per case or child that they get a hold of. So if they need more money, they just go and steal some kids, and then they bill for it. So as far as we got on with my father-in-law real quickly, we took him about 35 miles, 40 miles away from here, and went into the hospital in Wingham, Ontario, and we're trying to get him booked in there to be looked at. And my father-in-law is he'd lost so freaking much weight, and it was so weak. And I remember I got this doctor there, and my father-in-law was sitting in a chair, and he always he was a gentleman who would make every attempt at humor, really, to diffuse a problem kind of thing. And he knew he was in trouble. And, I told the doctor, I said, look at this man. Now, if that was a dog sitting there, it'd be a totally different situation going on right now. And he agreed. Well, he said, yeah, if he was a dog, it would be a big difference. But here's a man in his pushing 90 who isn't being given the care of a dog. And that is sad. So finally, we got him to take Harold in, and we went in to do some checkups and that. And he kept trying to give us a what do you call it, a poop bag or a poop test kit or whatever you call it, to do that, and then they would check to see if really he did have C. diff. And I'm going, well, listen, I'm telling you what he's got. He's got C. diff. They've already done the test, right? But they're not going with it. And when he was in the hospital up here, they had put the other three gentlemen at absolute risk, or anybody else, I suppose, in the hospital, at risk, knowing full well that he had C. diff. So, I'm trying to hang on to this doctor because I don't want to keep traveling, and eventually, he kept trying to push the stool kit on us. Yeah, a stool kit. And luckily for us, the young girl that was there, who had taken the information on my father-in-law, she popped out of another room and said, she just blurted it out. She goes, he's right. The doctor goes, what do you mean he's right? He's got it. The doctor goes, got what? C. diff, just like he said. And so after that, we managed to get father-in-law into the hospital, and they start pumping him full of whatever you pump people with C. diff full of. And the next day, I think it was the next day. Huh? The next day, we get a call from the hospital telling us that we have to come and get Harold. And we're going, what the hell are you talking about? Well, we found out through the records that Harold has a family doctor in Kincardine where he lives. Well, yeah. But the reason Harold looks like the way he does now is because of that doctor in Kincardine. Well, we can't continue to care for him because he's basically contracted with another doctor. So I told my brother-in-law, I said, well, that's fine. Phone his office and fire him. Okay? And then we can keep him at the other hospital. And, my brother-in-law is getting a lot better at this now. Both my brother-in-laws were standing here going like, can you fire a doctor? You fire anybody. Okay? So phone up his office and fire the son of a bitch. Then eventually, sheepishly, they did. And, okay, so now Harold's being taken care of at the other hospital. Only problem is now we have this, like lawyers, okay, the Doctors Guild, okay, don't like it when somebody from outside messes with them. And that caused all kinds of problems. The other doctor was over at Wingham was just pissed that a couple of lowly freaking peons would actually fire a doctor. And so that caused lots of trouble. And did we ever get Harold home from that? We did, didn't we? Yeah, we did. So they cleaned him up some and got him fixed up a bit, and then he come home. But eventually, both my mother-in-law and father-in-law ended up in a home, and luckily for us, it was a country home, and most of the people there were of good country stock, moral values. And so once Harold got over there, I guess whatever drugs they gave him wore off, and he got C. diff almost instantly again. And so they had him quarantined in a separate room. And luckily for me, I knew Michael Schmidt, and I told him what was going on, and I knew that all that pill shit they're stuffing in the stomach to try to kill the C. diff would only last temporarily, and that's what was happening. The ladies that were looking after him at the home would say, we pump him full of this stuff, and it seems to clear itself up, but as soon as we take him off the drugs, it comes back. So I went, and my plan was to get some raw milk because all of these antibiotics and that just kill all the good bacteria in your gut and leave you absolutely susceptible. And that was my thought process, but instead we got some unpasteurized liquid yogurt. Tart. Whoa, is that stuff tart. But anyways, I took it over to the home, and I thought, how am I going to deal with this staff here? And like I said, it was just good for me that they, good, country folks, farm folks. And, I kind of, said, like, we got to do something. And I got this stuff, and I think it's going to help. And they were beside themselves at that point. And to see if I'd been in town at the hospital, they would never let me, not a chance this was going to happen. But at the home there, the ladies really cared about their people there, and they said, if you got something that help, you think it'll help, give it to us. So they started giving them the liquid, unpasteurized liquid yogurt, and it cleaned up his C. diff almost instantly, and it never came back. So, if you're looking for health, the hospitals and the medical profession should be your last option, not your first option, is what I'm considering here. It should definitely be your last option, because the medical profession is a guild, just like the law guild and the scientific guild. And they all use jargon, okay? And jargon is specifically designed. And see, all of these outfits have all been legislated to give them complete and total right and control over a particular situation. Like the Law Society, if you'll see people, with sites on the internet or whatever, and this is not legal advice, right? Because you're not allowed to give legal advice because they have the monopoly on legal advice. But they also, I'm just looking for. So it's the same as the medical profession. They have total and complete control of it. And they use jargon in order that you don't understand what they're talking about. And this is absolutely and completely wrong. Because then we are left in a position where we don't know what's actually being said or what's actually going on. We're outside of their guild, yet their guild controls what we do, and it controls their decisions. Anyway, jargon is the type of language that is used in a particular context and may not be well understood outside of the context of usually a particular occupation, that is a certain trade, profession, academic field, in-group, can have jargon. The main trait that distinguishes jargon from the rest of a language is special vocabulary, including some words specific to it and often narrower senses of words that outgroups would tend to take in a broader sense. Jargon is thus the technical terminology of characteristic idiom of a special activity or a group. And most jargon is technical terminology involving terms of art. Okay, and that is a real cracker, that one, because the legal system is based on art. Okay, it's based on fiction. And that's what art is. Art is fictional. It's art is a concept, something conceived in the mind. That is what art is, and that is what your legal system is something conceived in the mind. When you buy a home, you think you're buying the land and the house. You're not. You're buying a property, and a property is by definition a abstract concept. Okay. And by doing this, they are able to deceive people. Well, deception is fraud, and fraud is against the law. Anyways, when we go into examples of this, we find, and jargon actually comes from the thieves' cant, C-A-N-T. Without the apostrophe there. So the thieves' cant or rogues' cant, also known as the peddler's French, was a secret language, a cant of cryptotech, which was formerly used by thieves, beggars, and hustlers for various kinds in Great Britain and to a lesser extent in other English-speaking countries. The classic colorful argot is now mostly obsolete, but it is largely registered to the realm of literature and fantasy role-playing, although individual terms continue to be used in the criminal subcultures of both Britain and the U.S. In South German and Swiss equivalent, the Rotwich and Serbo-Croatian equivalent is, I can't say that because it's not in the language I understand. So it goes through this from Elizabethan England, and I will put this in the chat and people can read it. It's really quite interesting because if again we go to, let me see here, if I just put the word cant in and forget about the thieves' cant, I do believe I will come back to, cant language. This is in Wikipedia. A cant or cryptolect is what it is. Remember, the thieves' cant is about manipulation. It's about thieving. So while it spells this out, a cant or cryptolect is the jargon or argot of a group, often employed to exclude or mislead people outside the group. Okay, and that's what cant language is. That is what jargon is. That's why when you go to court, they say you got a lawyer. What is that saying? Only a fool would represent himself or something. Because you don't understand the language. And so this particular group, the bar, the lawyers, are legislated, and they use jargon, which is often employed to exclude or mislead people outside the group. And that comes from the thieves' cant, which is how do we steal from you? How do we manipulate you? How do we control you? And that's the thievery part of it. So that is what we have, and this is the same thing. The scientific community is basically legislated, as is the medical, as is the education, and so on and so forth. Your public education, your public health, are all legislated, and they all use jargon, which according to this is often employed to exclude or mislead people outside the group. So, for a long time I have had no use. People say, well, we have to use science. Well, I've been telling people for a long time I have no use for science. Okay? I mean, who would have use for this group that tells me that butter is bad for me, or that eggs are bad for me, or that, I don't know, green energy is good for the planet, or that global warming is real, when this is a group legislated who often exclude or mislead people outside the group. Okay? And they skew their data constantly because they control the data. Okay? And they use the data to, again, exclude or mislead people, which is deception, which is fraud. And that's what runs our lives. And we have to get over that. So when you, go through all of this stuff, and you take that and go to jargon, which is cant language, you will find that, again, it says jargon is a type that may well not be understood outside of a particular group. And when you go down, you have what kind of jargons do we have? Many examples of jargon exist because of its use among specialists and subcultures alike. That's when you read in the paper, you'll always see things when they're trying to back up what they're saying. A expert said, okay? Well, you bet that expert is part of one of these guilds or groups that use jargon. So what kind of what do we got here for jargon? We have computing jargon, corporate jargon, language of mathematics jargon, economics terminology that differs from common usage, legal terms, medical terminology, music terminology, nautical terms, scientific technology. The international which is underneath of it has a sub under here which says international scientific vocabulary. So our education system has manipulated us into believing things that are not true, and that's a given. And we have the scientific community who tells us the most ridiculous things you'll ever want to hear. And again, the legal bunch. So, see, it's not the government, which is just a corporation. The government does not write law, okay? They put forward something. The law is written by the Guild of Lawyers. You have to, the Attorney General's office, in one instance here in Ontario, has 800 lawyers. I think it's when I was telling them, I believe it's 800 lawyers on staff. And they have the exclusive right of law. Well, how in the hell is that possible? Well, because they want to entrap you, and the government, which is a corporation, which is a money machine, wants to figure out how they can suck every nickel and dime of your labor away from you and over to them. So they use the jargon of the lawyers to do so, which again would be a deception, would be fraud. So see also under this we have argot, which is a language of the same nature, but is pretty well gone with now. Buzzwords, critical vocabulary, gibberish, jargon file, legalese, and it goes on. We have Pidgin, which I looked at, but I can't remember exactly what that was. We have register. Okay, and so we have legalese and we have register. And the legalese that they write, you have to register your car, your child, and so on and so forth. So it's a matter of deception in order to steal. Well, I got to go register my car now. You just handed it over to them. You didn't know that because they're using their jargon to deceive you, which goes back to the thieves' cant, which is to steal from you and put you in a position where you are always bound to them, and they can write new legislature anytime they want, which they're really constantly doing now. So now your registered vehicle, excuse me, comes under the, if not already, the new carbon taxes, licensing fees, yada, 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 insurance fees, which is all designed by these deceivers using jargon to take. It's all about taking your labor from you. They produce nothing. None of these things produce anything. They live in a paper world. They live in a fictional world. They live in the arts, things conceived in the mind, nothing real. But they use those conceptions to defraud us. You know, we're led to believe that the government is bound to our bidding. Not even close. Not even close. So also we have procedure word, and we all know that when you're in court, it is all based on procedure, right? Legal procedures. Legal procedures full of legalese, written by the people who wish to deceive you, which takes you straight back to the thieves' cant. So that's something we got to do. We got to get on top of this. You know, like, see, you can't, they have medical, they're coming up with medical, well, they got medical marijuana now, right? Now, marijuana apparently is illegal. If I get caught with it, I'm going to court. If I grow a bunch of it, I won't be in trouble. Now, the government, i.e. corporation, has the right now to grow it, dispense it, profit from it, but you don't. Okay, so the jargon boys write legislature and or legislation so that it gets passed, and they write in the legalese, which are the words to basically deceive the reader as to what the actual meaning of what's being written is, and again, to take advantage. So we have to get by this idea that this small group, I think there's 48,000 lawyers, I think I read, in Ontario, and there's about 15 million people in Ontario. So everyone's life in Ontario, and I'm not meaning in, well, you are in Ontario, you're a corporate Ontarian, is you're 15 million people, these 48,000 people run the lives of, ruin the lives of 15 million. Now, how in the hell we put up with that stuff, people? How the hell would 15 million people put up with the nonsense that we put up with in this so-called province? That these 48,000 people have the ability, and there's only a few of them actually writing law, but they expand out because when they write the law, they need people of the same mindset in order to collect the money, your labor, from you. So, you know, I mean, Shakespeare was right, I guess. First kill all the lawyers. No, I'm not advocating you kill a lawyer or anything else, but this is the problem. And we have the same problem with the medical profession. And now what we have is we have this drive to bring in not just assisted suicide, but you can pre-qualify, you can pre-register to call it a day. So basically, because when you sign, you're not signing. They don't understand man, okay? Because it's the arts. It's all fictional, okay? The law society, the law system cannot deal with a man or a woman. They can't do it. Okay, because a man or a woman is not a fiction. They can only deal with the fiction they created, and they created that when they stole, when they plagiarized the name, and they seduced your mother into signing this, and they do it so nicely. What a lovely baby boy or girl. What's its name? Yada, yada, yada. They weigh it. I guess they've taken DNA now, taken, footprints and handprint, whatever they do. It doesn't matter to me. Other than it's complete deception, then it's a fraud. And they steal your child. They steal the name, and they monetize it. And they lay claim to that child. So, when I was I looked up the word witch, I think it was. And I found it kind of interesting because, let me see if I can dig that up quick. Okay, let's see if we can back this up a bit. And where I started here a little bit. Witching. And this is out of Webster's. Witching. The witches or enchants suited to enchantment or witchcraft, bewitching, possessing or using or characteristic of or appropriate to supernatural powers, charming incantations, magic signs that protect against adverse influence, a magical spell. It's now the very witching time of night, Shakespeare. Wizard wands, wizardly powers, and synonyms: magic, magical, sorceress, wizard, it goes on. Now, when we go down this other list of words, which are they're not synonyms, but they're connected to it, the word witching, we find alluring, appealing, appetizing, attractive, beguiling, bewitching, bewitchment, captivating, catching, charismatic, charming, coaxing, come hither, delightful, dowser, enchanting, enchantment, engaging. And it goes on here, exciting, exotic, exquisite, fascinating, fetching, glamorous, flirtatious, heart-robbing, hypnotic, illusionary, elusive, incantation. And as we go down here, we find necromancy. Let's look at that real quick, see what it's got to say on that. The art of revealing future events by means of a pretended communication with the dead, black art, hence magic in general. The belief in magic spells that harness the occult forces of evil spirits to produce unnatural effects of the world, black art, black magic, and sorcery. And what I found here, I don't know if it was under the word witching. Let's see here if I can find the word I'm looking for. Sometimes I get these, I'm running through this stuff, and what I'm looking for, let me see if I go forward, if I can find it. Anyways, in one of these words I was looking at today, I'm not sure it was jargon or it's not in witching here, but one of the words brought me back to the word seduce. And when you look up the word plagiarize, you find that it's exactly what it says. It's a theft, it's a literary theft, and it's a kidnapping. It's the stealing of a child or a slave. And they also have the word seduce in there. Okay, so it makes perfect sense. Your parents were seduced through these wonderful people. to the charismatic, charming, coaxing, captivating people who are so happy that you just had a new child, to sign on, right? And that's how you became tagged to a property of. That's how you became monetized, subject to, through the arts, right? Through the fictional play. They say, life is just is a cabaret, old friend. And that's a really true statement, because as long as we are subject to their witchery or their jargon, our life is a cabaret, because it is a fictional life. It is not real. It is the arts. And they use the arts, art of science, art of literature, art of law, to captivate us and in turn deceive us into believing things that are not true, or believing that certain bodies have authority over us, which again is not true. So this is what's happened to our lives. They've been stolen from us. No one has authority over you. Okay? That's why the Queen had to take the oath. Or not the Queen, but Elizabeth had to take the oath. And the oath basically was based on the divine right of kings, which is simple, that I guess God's busy right now, but that the king, queen, the person, the man or woman who become king or queen, take the oath specifically so that they have the authority to rule. Okay, but the authority to rule comes with restrictions, and that rule can only be legitimate as long as that one ruling stays within the bounds of what they took the oath upon, which was the King James Bible, and uphold the law. And the law is so pathetically simple to understand. Some people find it too simple. Law is do no harm. Because if you haven't done any harm, you cannot have created a victim. And if you haven't got a victim, then who you bring into court? And do unto others as you wish done unto yourself. And that itself is, I guess you would call, the police call it now, they do preventative policing. Well, no, they don't. They're full of crap. Because the police can't prevent a crime or a crime convention, but the fact is that rule in that book and the word authority is a book used to well, let me look that up real quick. It is a book, which is the Bible, used, come on, computer. So what is the word authority? Okay, we have to go back to the origins of the word, so I guess we have to boot it over here to etymology and punch in authority. The language is so messed up. Authority, okay, early 13th century is a book. That's what authority is, a book. Or quotation that settles an argument. Authority, prestige, right, permission, dignity, gravity. The scriptures. The scriptures. and that's what they take the oath upon. And that is what the law is. The legal has got nothing to do with law whatsoever. The legal is the arts, the concepts, the thoughts in someone's mind, and the authority is the book or the scriptures. You go to author. If you go to author, I believe it brings us author, 1300s, is father, author, originator, creator, okay? And that again is what the oath was about, to uphold that. Once you're not upholding that, then you don't have any authority, because the idea of the divine right of kings was they were the proxy of the creator or God, and they would uphold that word, which is law. And when they stopped upholding that law, then they had entered into tyranny. They no longer had authority. The only authority they had at that, after that point, after breaking the bond, after breaking the oath, the only authority they have is force. And that's what we live under now. The color and force of law. Legal, similar to, like, but not law. Okay? So these people, these so-called governments and that, which are just nothing but corporations, the only authority they have to rule is through the force. Law requires really no force, because it's based on do unto others as you would have them do unto you. Okay, and then you have the old eye for an eye thing in the Bible. And that restricts people, because if I'm going to do to you and means I'm going to harm you when I'm not supposed to cause harm, but if I do decide to harm you, then the other party has every right to seek back revenge, or whatever you want to call it. And they say, well, that's barbaric. Well, I don't know. I mean, all these police running around tasering people and ticketing people and stealing their labor when they have absolutely caused no harm to anyone sounds more like a big problem. It seems like eye for an eye is a better system than what we live under now. So the problem we have is that the so-called authorities are not, in fact, authorities. Okay? The only authority that they can bring down upon you and I is the force. Okay? They don't act in law, because they harm everybody. And I did this with a lawyer from the Law Society of Canada, or not from the Attorney General's office, excuse me. And I've done this before. We went through that. Law, it took us about, 2 minutes max to figure out what law is. Do no harm. If you haven't done any harm, then you could not have created a victim, and then there's been no law broken. And the others to do unto others you wish done unto yourself. But when we got on the legal side, that took considerably longer, because I was explaining that the legal system is actually outside the law. Those in the legal system are actually the outlaws, because everything that they legislate causes harm, and it creates victims. If I jaywalk across the street, whatever that's supposed to be, they legislated that, so you can only cross the street where they tell you can cross the street. How bizarre is that? Now, some people would say, well, if people just cross the street willy-nilly all over the place, people would be getting, hit, run over, killed, and it would snarl up traffic. Possibly. Not likely, though. People aren't stupid, although they're more stupid today than they were a long time ago. But for them to legislate that you can't cross the street here or there because they said so, I mean, if you think about that for a second, it's absolutely ludicrous. So you cross the street, there's not even any traffic coming. You don't feel like going down to the lights, because you're not. If you go all the way down to the lights, okay, you've gone a half a block past where you need to get to, because where you're trying to get to is on the other side of the street in the middle of the block. So now you got to walk down to the end, wait for a light or whatever, even though there's no traffic, right? There's no traffic. So you stand there like a bozo and wait for this light to change. Oh, it's a no walk, like I'll have to wait. Well, we'll wait. And we'll wait. Okay, we can go now. So we cross there, and then we turn around and we walk half block back the other direction to get where we want. Well, we could have just walked across the freaking street in a straight line. Because there's no traffic coming. Now, if a cop sees you doing that, depends what mood he's in, depends how much the corporation wants to bring in this month, you may get a ticket. And you say, well, why? What are you giving me a ticket for? Well, you're jaywalking. Well, whatever that's supposed to mean. But I'm just going over there, and there's no traffic, so I'm crossing. Well, you can't do that. Well, sure I can. I just did it. You watched me. Yes, I know that, but it's against the law. Well, no, it's not against the law because it didn't cause anybody harm. So it's obviously not against the law. It's against your conception of the legal system, the art of law. Something conceived in the mind that you can come and tell me I can't do it, and then you're going to give me a ticket, which does what? Did I harm someone? No. Is there a victim? No. Then why are you giving me a ticket? Well, it's the law. No, it's not the law. Okay? It's art. Something you guys thought up in your brain to steal from the men and women, to steal their labor. So, you are just taking from me. That's against the law. And it is against the law. So the company is saying that because they plagiarize your name, you're property of the corporation, and you must abide by the rules and the regulations laid down by the corporation. Problem is, they didn't tell you that you were monetized. They didn't tell you they plagiarized your name. They didn't tell you that you're holding you in a subversive position or subject to. Didn't tell you any of that stuff. Here's your ticket. You got 15 days to pay, or you have to go to court, or you're going to have a whole bunch more money added onto the ticket of which we give you for causing no one any harm. And they call that law. So anyways, me and this attorney, lawyer, whatever you want to call these guys, we had a big long chat about this stuff. And, I said, just name me one of the thousands upon thousands of bills and statutes and rules and regulations that these legislators pass. Can you just give me one instance of something they passed that doesn't cause harm? And the only one he could come up with, after considerable silence on his part, the only one he could come up with was the drinking and driving laws. And I said, well, that's under preventativeness, right? And he goes, well, yeah. And I said, well, that's fine. I said, I cannot condone any kind of driving that would hurt someone. On the one hand, though, you say, well, you're making an assumption here that everyone who drinks is a potential accident waiting to happen, which can't be true because the same can be said for anybody that sits behind the wheel of a vehicle and starts it up and rolls it out on the roadway is a potential hazard on the roadway. Okay? They look at a cow, and instead of holding the steering wheel straight, sometimes when you look, your hand goes the other way, so they veer into a transport and get themselves killed. Were they impaired? No. Did they cause an accident? And you got to be careful. I'm just using these terms right now because accident is actually an expression that you did it on purpose. So we'll just stick with, the lay meaning of accident. Now, was that man impaired or that woman impaired? No. And so you still let them go behind the wheel. Well, yeah, because it's not legislated that they can't go behind the wheel. Okay, but it's legislated they can't drink and go behind the wheel. Wait a minute, it's legislated they can only drink whatever and not hit this number. Okay, so, but does that make them a instant threat? Of course not, because someone who blows whatever the number is now, I have no idea what the number is. They seem to be bringing that down. So a 90-pound woman might have, a glass of wine or a couple of beers or whatever, and hit the number. Or not hit the number and be totally cooked. Whereas someone 3 times this woman's size, who drinks beer every day and may blow way over, is not impaired because their system is used to it. Okay, while they have an elevated alcohol content doesn't mean they're impaired. Whether they have a low alcohol level doesn't mean that they're not impaired. So, the only example he gave me of where legal doesn't harm someone fails. So everything that comes through the legislature is designed to cause harm, and it does cause harm by restricting your God-given rights and or stealing your labor or any other number of things. And that's against the law that Elizabeth took the oath to uphold. So again, Elizabeth at this point has no authority whatsoever to be at the apex of the political and legal systems, because that's a duality, that's a fraud that Elizabeth, the woman, transformed herself into 2 roles. And there's not a lot of money to be had in truth, so she apparently is playing the legal, political side. It's a better deal. You can't manipulate people with law. You can't harm people with law. But you can certainly do all of it with legal. And people need to understand all of that stuff. So the only thing we have in these lands, and in all lands, is outlaws. It's a system of outlaws to legitimately, well, it's not legitimate, but to put forward to you the legitimacy of their right to steal from you and to restrict your rights, the rights that Elizabeth took the oath to uphold. And we have to start dealing with this, because it's only going to get worse. And we have to take back our authority. The idea that 48,000 lawyers and all of the nonsense that they've spawned can control the lives of 15 million people makes no sense. No sense at all. So all we got to do is take this so-called government, which is nothing more than a corporation, lose the corporation, because when you lose the corporation, because you are incorporated, which means you are enslaved. So as long as this system continues, you will always be enslaved. So we have to remove the idea of this corporate slavery, and we have to go back to what it was supposed to be in the first place, government. Okay? But the government serves the people, the men and women, not the corporate fiction, the men and women. The government does not have to be a corporation. Okay, it has to be a body of men and women, but there's no corporation, there's no body of men and women that are governing. It's the corporate that's governing. And a man and woman is not recognized by the corporation. So there's no way in this system that the so-called government, the corporate government, it has no ability to be your servant. How can the master be the servant of the slave? It doesn't work that way. So we have to, some people say, well, we like anarchy. Well, I don't really get that part. I mean, I do get it, okay, that you govern yourself. Although there are different variations of anarchy, and one of them basically being communism. So you want to be careful with the anarchy deal. But the fact is, do we need a government? It's basically a natural government. And as long as the governing body, which are a group of your peers, abides by what the Queen was supposed to abide by, then we do have a situation where the governing body cannot ever gain an upper hand or an advantage over the very people that put it in place, period. Can't happen. And that's what we got to get back to. And people say, well, how would you do that? Well, we got to start doing it. That's the short answer. Because if we don't start doing it, it ain't going to get done. Okay, we got to come back to reality. Be ruled by the arts, concepts of the mind. I mean, how ridiculous is this? Leave that for Alice in Wonderland writers. Okay, leave that for the entertainment industry. But when it impinges upon your rights as a man or a woman, it has to be dealt with, and it has to be removed. It has to be put away. Goodbye. Otherwise, we're going to continue down the road we're on, and the road we're on is not going to have a happy ending if we do not change this soon. Now, what you could do is, I suppose, you could write to your elected representative, of which you didn't elect because you, the man or woman, cannot sue and you cannot vote. Okay? Because a man or a woman can only vote for men and women. But you don't live as men and women, you live as corporate entities. So only the corporate entity can vote, and they put you in place. The only role you have is to sign, because the corporate fiction, being a fiction, can't sign anything. So you're making agreements with the corporation as a proxy through the agent, the fictional character, and you're bound by it. So the idea that you can vote is absolutely wrong. You cannot vote. You have never voted. You will never vote until we change the system back to a system of law. All the best you can do is register. You sign the registry as an agent on behalf of the corporate fiction, and you vote. You mark the ballot. People say, of course I vote. I just marked the ballot. Well, you didn't mark the ballot. You may have physically marked the ballot, but the corporate government doesn't recognize you. Okay, all you did was mark it as a proxy for a corporation, which was created from your name. So it's all a fraud. And that's unfortunate. Now, we were talking about newspapers last night, I guess, on the show over Revolution Radio. And I saw some fairly positive feedback. And, I'll go back to the newspaper again. How do we explain to people the reality that is their lives at the moment? Well, this is a perfect example of using the newspaper to bring people into an awareness of what actually is going on. That it's actually not your country. It's not your government. Okay? None of it belongs to you. You belong to it. And the idea is to do it not in a conspiratorial tone, but to do it quietly over a period of time. People's eyes don't open instantly. Okay? And even if a person's eyes, you go to shake some people are harder to wake up than others. Come on, get up. It's time to get up. And they're snoring away there. So you start poking at them. And they kind of rustle around a bit and want to go back to sleep. Some people, when you poke them, their eyes pop immediately. But they're not really coherent yet. They're still in a fuzz land. And that's why it's important that we wake these people up in a way that they can deal with it. Okay? We don't want to scare anybody. We want to help them come to an understanding. And once they come to the understanding, then they're going to be out searching for themselves. And that's how you really get this thing rocking and rolling. And I do believe that little newspaper we're talking about is a step in the right direction. We have to be able to counter them somehow. The only way we can counter them is to use the same methods they use. And it's propaganda. And the only way that we can overpower their propaganda, which is based on illusion, the arts, abstract concepts, is to bring it back to the voice of men and women. Not the corporate voice, not the fictional voice, but the real voice of men and women. And, there's an old saying there somewhere, I don't remember, I can't recite scripture, but, let my people go. And that's exactly what has to happen. We have been enslaved by some tricksters, by some people that use jargon and cant languages, languages that we generally don't understand. And see, they put themselves up, even though they're the thieves and the manipulators, they put themselves up because they got this degree that they're somehow legitimate and learned. And because they are so legitimate and learned, why else would they legislate this group to have complete control over law? So we get conned by that. Well, he's a lawyer, he's a good lawyer. Well, I just mean the better the lawyer, the better the liar. Okay, the better the manipulator. That's all it is, right? There's a lot of lawyers out there right now struggling. I don't mean financially so much, but they're struggling with their moral character. But they can't be in the business if they bring their morals and fairness to the forefront. They will stumble. They will get run out. It's just the way it is. So we have to help them understand as well that we have to come back to real law. Otherwise, we can't put up with you people much longer. Because you people are out there, the same outfit. Those who have the exclusive right to create or write law are extremely busy right now writing environmental law, sustainable law, carbon law, and that is going to impede upon your life even further in a negative way. So we have to get moving forward as fast as we can. And then we can start to turn this around. And it is fixable. People say you can't fix it. You can fix anything, right? Everything is fixable. Even a broken heart eventually mends. It takes time, but it mends. So everything is fixable. We just have to get fixing, I guess, is what we got to do. We got to get fixing, Where's all my cows gone? Well, you got a hole in the fence over there. Oh, I'll have to go and see if I can round the cows up, put them back in the field. Where the hell's my cows today? Well, they're over in my field. How'd they get there? Well, you didn't fix the fence. Right. So if you don't fix the fence, you're going to be doing this every friggin' day. Oh. So it is a fixable problem. Of course it is. Because all problems are fixable. We just have to make the decision, we're going to go fix the problem. That's it. Once that decision has been made by some people, some men and women of good moral character, understands principles and fairness, make that decision, then we can start moving forward. This idea about arguing about politics or this did that, or the court did this to me. Well, we can complain about it, but that ain't going to fix it. We have to actually go fix it. And again, it is extremely fixable. I want to see law, and I want to see the end of the Triple Crown. The Vatican's pretty easy, really, because they have a huge, I think it's a 50-foot high wall or something around there. Really high wall anyway, so it's very simple to contain those guys. You just lock the door, okay, and leave them there. They can't do any harm from there. And as far as London City is concerned, that's a 1 square mile area, I believe it is. That ain't too hard. Build a wall around it, put a door in it, and lock it. Same as D.C. D.C.'s only 10 square miles. You don't want war? Build a wall around that place and lock it up. Now we have the source of the problems contained. I don't know exactly what the square miles are on the planet, but Vatican's 1.3 kilometers square or something. I can't be certain on that one. London City's a square mile, and DC's 10 square miles. So you can pretty much figure that less than 15 square miles is what's running this planet. 15 square miles is what monetized you, okay? 15 square miles is what told you the wrong doctrine about law, and I'm talking about the Vatican. And 15 square miles combined is what murders, kills, maims so many innocent people. So all we got to do is contain that little group and replace it, not with a pentagram or pentagon, but with let's start a new axis, only an axis of morality and principles. Instead of London City, where all the law or all the legal system comes from, we'll just turf those guys and put the law system back. Take the Vatican, instead of their doctrine, which is completely stupid, we just take that and we replace that with the Office of Faith, or whatever you want to call it, the Office of Man, right? The Office of Man. And as far as D.C. and the Pentagon, all that goes, just block that off and make the Ministry of Peace or whatever. I don't care. Makes no difference to me. But that's how easy this is to fix. But what's happened is their propaganda so overpowers us that we can't. The average person can't wrap their brain around what anyone that understands is even talking about. And the only way that you can get that understanding out there is to get the information into their lap in such a manner that they don't have that difficult a time to understand it. It will take time, but they will come around, because none of them want their pockets picked. None of them want to get a ticket for crossing a street to get from A to B. Okay, people are sick of that garbage. They're sick of being pickpocketed. And that's what the legal system does. Picks your pocket. And they couldn't pick your pocket without the legal system. And the lawyers who write the laws into the legislation, or the legalese into legislation, that allows this guy with a suit on, or a blue suit with a car and a gun, a taser, bear spray, and hand grenades, or whatever else the hell they're carrying now, pretending to be some sort of legitimate authority, giving you a hard time from going from A to B, and then turn around and giving you a ticket because he can. That whole attitude has got to change. It has got to change, and the sooner the better. So I want to keep working on this paper, and then I have some other things right now that I got to deal with. I would like to, we need to have some sort of a chat, either on Skype or something, with people who are actually legitimately interested in making change, not just, pasting on Facebook and listening to radio shows. I need to come into contact with people who actually have the capacity to write, capacity to edit, capacity to do graphic work, and get this thing up, get it organized, and get it working. That's what we got to do. We can talk about politics and whatever else till the cows come home, and we ain't going to get nothing accomplished. So if we really believe that there's a problem, then we must really make an effort to find a beginning to a solution. And those are the people I need to talk to. Now, I know people are sticking some ideas out, and much appreciated, but the time has come that we need to sit down and get to work. Roll up the sleeves and get this thing done. And I do believe it will be very successful, and that it will do what it's set out to try to do. And that's quietly explain to people some of the things that they're bitch about every single day. Every day people come home and there's a new set of bills staring them in the face. Like, why'd this go up $50 this month? What the hell is going on? I just got my paycheck and now my pay's all gone. What the hell is going on? So right now, I don't think there's been another time where the vast majority of the people now are feeling such a negative impact upon themselves and their families and their futures. So they are mentally wide open now for some suggestion, for some thoughts, for some explanations of what it is they're bitching about and what the background that brought what they're bitching about to them. And I think those people are going to be very glad that somebody took the time, that understood what's going on. Those who have spent so much time researching the backgrounds and the histories and all that kind of stuff. The average Joe at this point is going to, pat you on the back for doing your due diligence when they didn't have the time to do it or didn't understand what was going on, and that actually brought them something that is useful to them. I think there's a great, I'm not into protesting. I don't get that at all. I just don't understand protesters. Protesters make no sense to me whatsoever. I had people talking about, they had all the, the movement, the real movement of the 60s and that. That wasn't a movement. Okay, that was a bunch of deceived people on both sides of the fence. Okay, that's what that was. It had nothing to do with a movement. It was a constructed movement. It was through propaganda that they got the people protesting, the administration of government, the Vietnam Wars, and all this kind of stuff. That was all contrived. It was all art. It was all a concept. And they managed, and this is the beauty of it, they managed at that time to get this big group of people up there protesting against all of these things in order to move to the next stage of propaganda. And, Wall Street is the same thing, the Wall Street Occupy thing, very same thing. We're the 99%. Well, if you're the 99% and you're so smart and you want to get rid of the banks, then why is it you're protesting on behalf of the banks? Because that's who paid for your protests. Now, the guy down on the ground don't understand that. He thinks he's protesting against capitalism and the banks and all this kind of thing, not realizing that it's just a play. It's art, and you got sucked into it. And so you're not doing anything positive for yourself. You're doing it positive for who you think you're fighting against. And that has to change. The Idle No More protests in Canada about the natives. I don't know if they did it down in the States or not, but up here we went from Occupy to Idle No More. And again, conceived by the same people that brought you the 1960s protests, the civil rights movement, and all of these kind of things. These were all contrived actions, thought up, conceived in the mind of those who wish to deceive you, the artists. See, when people think about art, they think about, sculpture and this and that and whatever. But what it really is something conceived in the mind. Okay? So we know what they do. Now we got to figure out how to counter it. And go back to law. There's two entities running out here. The good guys, that's law, and the bad guys, that's legal. Okay? And there's a fight between good and evil. And the good guys, unfortunately, have been completely deceived because they've been witched, they've been seduced. Okay? They've been seduced. And we have to seduce them back to law and show them why law is more advantageous to their lives and their futures than is the legal system. I want to get this into people's hands because I want this across the country. Because I want to see the guy or the wife who's reading and finds out for the first time legitimately written that in fact they're an ape. They're an animal. Hey, Edna, you read this new paper yet? Yeah, I looked at it, Jimmy. It's kind of different, isn't it? Says here, Edna, that these humans, they always calling us humans. Yeah, I know, I saw that. You know what the hell a human is, according to these people? A freaking monkey. That can't be right. I thought it was a man. Well, I read it too, and according to what I read, we're monkeys. Well, I'll be damned. I want to see that. I really want to see that. I think that would be hilarious. And that's how you awaken people. By getting it into their hands. By taking the words in that and giving them the proper meanings. So that people understand the words that were used to deceive them and to seduce them. And make them slaves of not a government, but a corporation, an art form of deception. So it'd be fun. It'd be a lot of fun. We're going to get it going. And, get on with life here. Don't tell me I can't bash religions. Yes, absolutely. Bash the hell right out of them. Okay? Because religions are the same as any of the other. The religions are, again, these mental concepts used to seduce and manipulate. Okay? And I am also an extremely firm believer that if anybody says to you, you can't say something, tell them to go suck air. because you have the right to say whatever it is you want to say, and if somebody is upset or feels put out about it, tough luck. You know, tough luck. We have to learn how to say what we mean and mean what we say, and understand that you didn't harm anybody. Okay? Because, you know, if you go back to the old thing, did I cause you harm by calling you a Pollock? Well, you hurt my feelings. Well, I don't know why that is, but if I did, you know, sorry about that, but, you know, I have a reason. And they say, well, I'm going to go to the, whatever they call that, Human Rights Board or something, and have them come after you. Well, you fill your boots, do whatever you want, but I have every right to say whatever I want, whenever I want, to whoever I want, and if it upsets you, sorry about that. But I do have the right to retain the right, and not you or anybody else is going to tell me otherwise. Period. As long as I say what I mean and mean what I say, then I'm good to go. So don't start this nonsense of, I mean, people are so afraid to say what's on their mind now. It's ridiculous. Well, you could get in trouble for, I've had people say that to me. You know, you could get in trouble for saying that. No, we can't. Because there's a victim. There's no victim. You know, there's the old child thing, you know, sticks and stones will break my bones, but names will never harm me. How do we miss that? If you're beating on me with sticks and stones, you obviously caused me harm. And you've broken the law. Cause no harm. But to think that I can harm you with a word, you know, boo. Oh, you scared me. I was so scared, I'm going to call somebody, get you for, well, you scared me. How ludicrous is that? I mean, that's just the world we live in. And we got to ditch that world. Because it's just going to get worse. You know, I like what the people in Poland, I saw a video about the migrants, and they got the right attitude. You know, you're coming to my country, or my lands, and they are our lands, and you're going to fit into what we consider our society. Fill your boots. Got no problem with that. But you're going to come in here under our rules. If we don't want you in here, you're not coming in here. No European or UN body is going to force us to let you in. If you do come in, you will be as us. Because if you come here and intend to be anything but us, then you can never be us. Then you are not welcome, so we're asking you to leave. And if you refuse to leave, well, it's going to be on the end of one of our boots. But you will leave. You will either become or you will leave. And that's the attitude that has to be taken. You know, if I come to your house, even if you invite me to your house, and I come to your house, and I start acting arbitrarily in your house, and I start explaining to you what you will bow down to what I want. You will act as I wish, not as you wish. Well, how long are you going to leave that guest in your house? Not damn long. And this is what multiculturalism has done. It has brought all of these different tribes, if you will, into our house. And now we of the house have somehow capitulated or whatever to their wants and desires. We came to your house and now you owe us. We came to your house, but now you must behave as we want you to behave. Duh. Don't think so. So, you know, if your government's saying, well, you know, you have to treat these people differently. and show them the utmost respect, even though it sickens you, then obviously you don't have a government, because if you had a government, the government there would be there to protect your society, protect the people already there from these outside influences. But apparently they want you to roll over like a half-dead dog and let these other peoples come in and basically get special rules and regulations for themselves, which in turn harms you, which in turn steals more of your labor, as you are working hard to support these people that you don't even want in the country. So I do like the Polish attitude there a lot. Either if you're coming, first of all, you need to be invited. Okay, that's the first thing. Okay, if we didn't invite you, then you're not welcome. And this idea that we have to let migrants in or immigrants in these greater and greater numbers all the time because we signed on with this fictional body called the United Nations, that in order to be one of the boys or one of the girls, countries that make up the United Nations, that we have to forget about the people on our lands already, and we're forced to do what this other body says us to do, then you best get away from that other body really quick, which means you sever all ties with the United Nations and any agency that has anything to do with the damn thing. But the basic gist of it is that you must be invited. And it must be the people of the house that do the inviting. My neighbor can't invite you to my house. And therefore only the people can make the invitation. And then when you are invited, you're expected to act in a certain way. And that's just being courteous, I suppose. But you will assimilate to our ways and values. And if you can't or refuse, or you're bound and determined to, put your views and rules and all that stuff, and force us to abide to you, then you're you're mistaken and mixed up. And I have to ask you to leave. If you won't leave, well, I'll chuck you out the damn door. Right? It's that simple. Because I have the right to do so. I mean, our so-called societies now have been degenerated to the point no one hardly even remembers what it used to be. And that's the whole point of this, is that they intend to take us down, turn us into a global mess, so that you have no longer any authority in your own house. When I say house, I mean the lands, call it the country, lands, or whatever. So you no more have any more say. And that, if we let that get that far, some people say we're already way past that. Well, I don't believe that. But we have to change it, Like if you're going to America and you're going to be an American, then you say, well, what exactly is an American, right? Well, an American, I think, is pretty much the same as what a Canadian would be. And that we base our society on the law and the moral principles as laid down in King James Bible. And as long as you're not harming somebody, and as long as you're not telling the house what they can and can't do, then we all get along, right? But this is being purposely dumped in our lap in order to destroy our house. And we seem quite willing to allow that to happen. So maybe we'll invite some Polish people over, and maybe we can start something here in the West to maybe stiffen up the minds and spines of those who live here. into understanding right from wrong, understanding the deception. I mean, I got so many people around here, going, well, you got to do what the government says. Why? Well, if you don't, everyone go to hell. Everyone already went to hell. Okay? Okay, because you're not supposed to have, God doesn't have any respect for persons, and you're not supposed to have any respect for persons. And we're all persons now. So it's already gone to hell in a handbasket. And we got to kick everything that is in that negative vein the hell out of here. Right? This is a spiritual war. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. World War III started the day they signed off on World War II. They already had the plans for World War III. And they've been implementing them ever since. And we haven't even raised a finger to slow it down. I mean, it seems so long ago, 1992, Agenda 21. And now it's Agenda 30, or 50, 30, 50, whatever they call it now. But regardless, that happened in 1992. The nation signed on to that thing. And it is now 2016. And for the most part, if I say that to most people, they won't even know what the hell I'm talking about. The ones that do will probably call me a conspiracy theorist. It's a lot of years have flowed, a lot of time, that they've just kept on marching forward. And we really haven't lifted a finger to do anything about it. And it does take a long time to wrap your brain around what they're actually up to. So you cannot explain the whole plan to somebody like in a few sound bites. You can't do it. Because if they go and you kind of giving them some information, they go talk to their friend, and their friend says, well, this guy was talking to me about Agenda 21, or so, one of them conspiracy theorists. Well, now the one you were talking to just tries to remove that from their brain, what you told them, but they picked up on this idea that anybody that mentions anything about it is somehow a conspiracy theorist and shouldn't be listened to. And that's another reason that I think we need to get a paper into their hands, and that is because everybody in a particular area is going to read it. Because they're going to get it. And as long as they have it in their possession, the chances are they'll read it are pretty good. And when their neighbor talks about a subject that we put in the paper, both of them have the same information, so that it is more likely that they will engage in some sort of a conversation, even though it may be light and not to the subject. But the fact that you're going to get neighbors talking a lot more doing it this way than you will any other way. And the idea is to get the neighbors talking. And then go from there. It'll be fine. I'm just getting really sick of watching people get beat up everywhere. That story we did last night on that guy in Toronto, 30-year-old guy. Doesn't look like he'd ever hurt anybody. 9 cops, 3 of them shot him. 3 of them were firing at him. And how do you need that many? 9 people. And they just kill the guy. We got a problem. And that's tyranny. We live in tyranny. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. You follow through. It is tyranny. Color of and force of law. Neither one of them are legitimate. And this is what we put up with. Your child can't come to school if you don't have a vaccine or vaccination. Why is that? If everybody else has had a vaccination, then why would I possibly keep one? Anyways, that sounds like I just blew up.
Well, I don't apologize for that.
Selling lies and buying time, killing people next in line, lower classes, social slime, they don't matter, genocide, sick from water, sick from air, making money, they don't care, Caesar shit, force of air, fuck them back, it's only for they want, they shoot, they kill, they massacre, they
Thanks for being a chat, everybody.
no one makes trees, lie to your face.